G'day guys and gal! The lore of Warhammer 40k is this big old convoluted thing, full of contradicting lore and many retcons. It's also stacked with memes, which is great, but unfortunately has resulted in the less intelligent parts of the community, that being Majorkill subscribers, confusing memes with actual lore. This is compounded by the fact that in order to disprove a lot of these myths, you would have need to have read and remember books from over a decade ago. The point is, a lot of people are getting many parts of the lore wrong, and I do think a part of that is my fault, because sometimes I like to add my own personal Aussie embellishment here and there. So as a lore master, no, it's a super gay term, as a dude who makes money by presenting Warhammer lore in a digestible format, it's my job to go through some of the biggest misconceptions and myths in 40k and set the record straight. Before we get started, September, the month of my birth, and the birth of everyone whose parents got freaky on New Year's Eve. It's also the month of the September Surfshark sponsorship. Surfshark, if you somehow don't know who they are by this point, considering I've promoted them like 10 times, is an awesome product. It basically swaps out the fiberglass of a classic surfboard for the leathery hide of a great white shark. It's designed to make you an amazing surfer because if you fall off the shark you were riding, it will violently eat you. Well, at least that's what I would have wished Surfshark was if it wasn't a bloody awesome VPN. We all know what VPNs are, basically a way to teleport to each country and use their internet without moving from your seat. This gives you access to stuff like bigger Netflix libraries, as well as websites that are blocked in your country. As an example, pretty much every Western person that ever visits China brings a VPN along with them. I mean, maybe that's not the best example anymore, considering like no Western people are going to be visiting China for a while, but you know what I mean. The point is, it's good. And with an 83% off when you use my link and code below Majorkill, it's bloody unbelievable. If you are curious to try it, but you're unsure about spending $2 per month to give it a go, then you're a sad little sorry. Then Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Cheers to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go through some of the most prominent myths in 40k and dispel them, giving you guys the true canon lore. I won't be dispelling memes because memes are fucking memes. If you can't tell the difference between a meme and a misconception, then maybe you should get tested for autism. Link for that will be in the description. Let's get into it. Everyone knows that I'm a slut for the Elder. If I could be any race or faction in 40k, it would be a Craftworld Elder. But Majorkill, that's boring. They have to exhibit extreme self-control and can never have any fun. Timmy, you wily little shit. Stop spreading myths. It is an absolute myth that the Craftworlder have to suppress their emotions and can't fuck and can't love. Slaanesh isn't the god of love and missionary. She's the god of sex, drugs and rock and roll. The Craftworlder's standard of living is extremely high. They party, they drink, they shag. No, their babies don't all come out of test tubes. Ironically, that's the Dark Elder who mostly have to do that. The Craftworlders can even use their psychic abilities. This is because they rejected Slaanesh before rejecting Slaanesh was cool. The Dark Elder were just lucky that they were in the webway when shit went south. The Craftworlders actively fled the calamity, and as a reward, they get to maintain a fucking great life. Sure, Craftworlds get destroyed, and sure, some aspect warriors on each Craftworld go balls to the walls and become more or less a robot, but that is a small percentage. Craftworlders can also feel angry, vengeful, and hateful without any negative blowback. They don't have to suppress the shit out of their emotions. As long as they have their spirit stones, they can get away with a lot of shit. The only time they start getting in trouble is if their fuckery gets so severe that their spirit stone abandons them. Then yeah, they're fucked. But you have to do some naughty shit to get to that point. The grim darkness of 40k is a huge theme of our beloved hobby. However, a lot of people think it's way more of a thing than it is. No, 95% of the Imperium isn't dedicated towards training soldiers and making weapons of war. No, most of the Imperial citizens are not forced into grueling labor. No, the only food available isn't grounded up rats mixed with corpse starch. Large swathes of the Imperium have never seen or felt war. They live on worlds not too different from our own. At most, only about a quarter of Imperial worlds are hive worlds, which are known for their grim darkness, because you know it's like 100 billion people squished together in these massive cities, but that means there are hundreds of thousands of worlds where the oceans aren't yet polluted, where cafes are a huge vibe, and where you can grow lemons in your backyard. Obviously, books and lore about these civilized worlds, as they're called, isn't that exciting, so there isn't many about them, whereas shit like Necromunda or war-torn worlds on the front lines are, so that's where the attention goes. There's even a thing called a pleasure world, which are entire worlds dedicated purely to chilling out, releasing mixtapes, and having orgies. Pleasure worlds are where all those big ass fake titty Instagram influencers live. So yeah, the myth that the Imperium is so grimdark and depressing all the time that it may as well get destroyed is just total bullshit. Most of the Imperium lives at the standard of our current Earth, if not better. So in the next one, a lot of people think that the setting of 40k doesn't actually have long left timeline-wise. The Necrons are awakening, their advanced technology too much for the other races to handle. The Tyranids are also coming in ever-increasing numbers, with the belief that the devastating hive fleets we've already seen are merely scout ships, preparing for the arrival of a gigantic fuck-off huge hive fleet that will consume the galaxy, which is becoming more and more of a problem. Basically, everyone's fucked, so nothing matters. This is completely false. No, the galaxy isn't doomed. Chaos, the Necrons, and the Tyranids are all very beatable, and all have very exploitable weaknesses. For the Necrons, it seems as if the only thing keeping them down is the fact that most of them are still asleep, but this isn't true. In the Infinite and the Divine novel, great book by the way, towards the end of it, most of the Necrons are waking up, but without the Silent King to unite them / mind control them, they've broken out into petty wars with each other. Many Necron lords have already been destroyed by other Necron lords. It's blatantly obvious that a united Necron force is pretty much impossible to achieve. The only one capable would be the Silent King, but even if the Silent King did that, he's so obsessed with killing the Tyranids that he wouldn't even really be considered an Avengers level threat. Like, the dude's been sulking for 60 million years. The idea of galactic domination is probably almost petty to him now. For the Tyranids, it's still only a theory that an endless tide of bugs are about to arrive. Also, when the Great Rift opened, it actually knocked the hive mind on its ass for a bit. If the Tyranids were so vast and numberless, then how would a warp incident occurring in one galaxy that only a few of their scout fleets are in, how could that kick the hive mind in the dick so hard? I would say that the Tyranids are not as limitless as we think, and even if they do eventually come with their big ass bug army, the line will probably be awake by then, so problem solved. For Chaos, well, the Biggie has finally awoken, and he's already kicked Nurgle in the jaw pretty hard. So if he can do that, then I'm sure Slaaneash's balls are soon to be squished as well. Moving on to an older myth that some people still cling on to. The myth that Sigmar from Warhammer Fantasy, and you guessed it, Age of Sigmar, is one of the lost Primarchs. This has been disproven multiple times as A, it's clear the lost Primarchs have been destroyed, B, numerous characters are aware of their fate, and C, the lost Primarchs most likely led or at least met their legion before going kaput. On top of that, the setting of Age of Sigmar has really transcended beyond fantasy and 40k. Like, Sigmar in his current form is way too powerful to be a Primarch, and he never even grew to Primarch size back in Warhammer Fantasy. To be fair to the people who believe this myth, it seems as if GW originally had plans for the two settings to more or less be connected more than they were, hence we're happy to use Sigmar as a lost Primarch, but those plans have since been binned ages ago. This next myth triggers a fair amount of people when it's brought up, which we love. The myth that guardsmen are nothing more than scared shitless cannon fodder. Guardsmen are considered some of the best soldiers humanity has to offer. If they were on our world, they would probably be more skilled than our Navy SEALs and SAS Special Forces. Obviously not every guardsman is equal. Cadians are crack shots before they turn 10, and the Death Corps of Krieg have nearly unlimited morale. But even niche guardsmen, such as the Gudrunite guardsmen from the first Eisenhorn book, prove themselves to be absolute warriors. Like, these dudes were trained on a pretty low-key world, so they definitely weren't the best guardsmen. But they were still brave enough to not only escape from the chaotic forces that had commandeered them, but then be willing to attack a mind-bending Xenoworld full of chaos cultists and space marines. Guardsmen do the bulk of the fighting across the Imperium, and it's the guardsmen who have held Cadia against the entire force of chaos for 10,000 years. If a soldier isn't good enough to be a guardsman, then they are instead inducted into their planet's defense force, or they end up being a part of the local militia. For the next myth, which I kind of take some responsibility for spreading because I thought it was funny, is that the Tau are a bunch of commie fish people. The Tau are not particularly aquatic or directly come from fish. The homeworld is more rocky and full of plains. They even have hooves, so yeah, they're more like bovine-y than anything. Also, their culture is more like a blend of numerous Asian systems. The caste system is Hindu, their Japanese Gundam aesthetic is very weeby, and their government is very reminiscent of the Chinese Communist Party. So it's not entirely inaccurate to call them commies, but there is more to them than that. While we are chatting about the Tau, there is another myth here to dispel, that being that the Tau society requires the ethereals to function. The argument for this is that the Tau were going to genocide themselves until the ethereals arrived and saved the day. However, with the Ethereal's mind control abilities, it's more than possible that they instigated the Tau Civil War so that when they arrived, the Tau would be willing to sacrifice their individuality to serve them. This is further backed up by the fact that the Farside Enclaves exist, which are a collection of Tau-controlled worlds that have zero Ethereals on them, and they're still extremely functional. Now to bust the myth that everyone wishes was true, but it just isn't. The Orc War cannot bend time, space, and reality. It just gives orcs an edge. No, the God Emperor isn't alive because orcs believe he is. The extent of their War power isn't limitless. If you convince an orc he is a god, he will grow more powerful, but he won't become a god. If you tell an orc that the gun he is holding can destroy a planet with one shot, it will probably get a Daka boost, but it won't destroy a planet with one shot, even if the orc completely believes it. The War allows orc technology to work, but the orcs still have to build shit. If they want a heavy Daka gun, they have to make something that looks like it would have heavy Daka. Orc War power doesn't affect other races either. If orcs think someone is really powerful, they won't suddenly turn into a Primarch. Sebastian Yarrick is a great commander and warrior, not because the orcs believe he is, but because he actually is. If the Orc War affected other races, then Blood Angels would be incredibly fast, and Imperial Fists would have way more firepower than they do. I'm sorry to ruin the fun and the memes, but that's pretty much the purpose of this video. The last myth, which you aren't gonna like hearing, is that there are no good guys in 40k, only varying degrees of bad. That is just incorrect. Just because a faction isn't a wholly benevolent convent of do-gooders doesn't mean they're bad. Humanity fights against demons and horrifying aliens in order to keep the innocent safe. The Craftworld Elder strive to keep their people alive, only attacking when necessary. The Tau, despite using questionable methods, are very welcoming of the other races, and they seek to create a utopia of advanced science and quality of life. Space Marines like the Salamanders and the Lamenters regularly give their lives to protect the innocent. This myth stems from the fact that because each faction is so vast, there are evil aspects of each one, which people think overpowers the good. Sure, some Craftworlds are more bloodthirsty than others, but that doesn't mean the Elder as a race are evil. I mean, the Dark Elder are, but that's besides the point. Just because the Marines Malevolent used the hospital as bait, then bombed it, doesn't mean all Space Marines are massive dicks. Just because the Ethereals aren't crazy about free will, doesn't mean the Tau deserve to be hated. There are very clearly evil factions and not evil factions. So yeah, you can say that the Imperium, the Craftworld and Exodai Elder and the Tau are the good guys, whilst Chaos, Tyranids and Dark Elder are the bad guys. It's obviously a scale, and the good guys aren't perfect by any means, but to say that the Imperium is just as bad as Chaos is fucking retarded. Myths and memes are good fun, but it's important to be able to tell the difference. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Where only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of hentai, and yes, there is some blue bovine people hentai on the way. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more mythical content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.